Okay, when I was first approached to produce a book for Crowwood on sketchbooks, my thought really was that it would be nice to have lots of people in it, because you don't really see other people's sketchbooks. They're quite a private thing. And as somebody who keeps a sketchbook and enjoys keeping a sketchbook, I'm fascinated by the ways people keep their sketchbook, and what they put in them, how they keep going with them. For myself, I use a sketchbook mainly for reportage, and often they are to do with places I visited. I asked quite a lot of people to be in the book. So, for example, Aldous almost exclusively uses his for reportage. He'll take his sketchbooks out and about on various locations for drawing.
Well, I love drawing. I love, it's something that I'm always, well, the reason I love drawing is because it's always, everything that I'm looking at is always a surprise. It's always new. Everything is never as I imagine it or I expect it to be. So one of the things about drawing is always finding something which is different from my expectation.
Yeah, so I stopped sketching for a long time, and it returned sort of only a few years ago and rekindled my love for illustrating and drawing in sketchbooks. And then a few years ago I started using something that I call a predictive sketchbook, where I put down areas of colour in my sketchbook, and they're pre-prepared. They're washes of watercolour. And then when I find a particular face that I want to draw, I find an appropriate blob of paint in my sketchbook.
One thing I'm thinking about when you compare this to all the other lovely sketchbooks you're going to see is the kind of limited materials that I'm using here. So I think to remember is that these are just notebooks, and I'm just drawing here in biro or in whatever I can pick up as I'm leaving the house, really. As long as I've got something in my bag, I'll draw with it. Looking back at these, what strikes me is how if an idea doesn't get used in one context for one project, like this little kind of bug person here, if I like the idea, it'll stay in the sketchbook and get used at some other point. As I'm looking through these, the idea will re-emerge. Or in fact, I probably don't look through it. It's probably in my head. But the fact that I've drawn it has cemented it in place, and I can use that idea in another context at another time.
Well, sketchbooks for me are a way of reminding myself who I am to a certain extent, in that I do all sorts of things. I've got a job, I've got children, I've got I do all sorts of things in my time. But when I'm with my sketchbook, it sort of feels like I'm being very much me, and it's very much about reminding me about what I enjoy doing most. In a way I do it partly because it's a bit like having a muscle that I want to exercise or something. I just want to keep looking and keep recording things. But I'm not doing them in order to kind of prepare for something else. I'm doing them for their own sake.
There's lots of different ways of keeping a sketchbook. You can keep a sketchbook by going out and drawing something. You might doodle in it at home, all of these things. So my hope with the book, really, my aim with the book is that if you buy the book and you read it, it leaves you with a desire and an enthusiasm to start your own sketchbook. I hope that people would be inspired by not only the other artists and illustrators that are in it, but also by some of the tips and pointers it gives to keeping a sketchbook.